Hello everybody and welcome back to RP1, and yes, welcome back to RSS Reborn. Thank you very much to the helpful commenter who inspired me to take another stab at this, and thankfully I was actually able to get it running. Apparently I just had the wrong version, needed to ignore some warnings. All is good, and we still managed to keep our save file so we can pick up exactly where we left off with the same crew and crafts. So it's been a little bit, and I'm, a little rusty, so I go into the mission control, and I start taking a look at our contracts, but I'm not really sure what to do first. I realized that we had just recently taken up the suborbital rocket research program, so we haven't done any of these yet, and I think the low space film return is going to be the easiest for us, given our current technology. So we're going to go ahead and accept that for now. We also have the ability of accepting an X-plane contract, and I think we should do that. However, I wasn't exactly sure what I was capable of. I needed to refresh myself on my own series, and for that I apologize, but I take the supersonic flight contract irresponsibly because we do not actually have the capabilities of handling that mission right now. So that's going to haunt us, but we will deal with that in the next episode. But for now, we are going to work on building a rocket that can take the film canister and or the camera and take it downrange into space, anywhere really where we can get some footage from it. Our contract requires us to go 100 kilometers altitude vertically and 200 kilometers downrange, so horizontally. So I first load up our downrange 500 or 5000, but it's not exactly suited for the task at hand. So I'm decided I'm going to just build a rocket from scratch. We're going to build a V2 style rocket with the camera board on top. So because the camera is so wide, we're going to need to have a 1.25 diameter pieces, so it's going to be wider than your average sounding rocket, which is why we're going to kind of imitate the V2 style. So we take our avionics and make it into a nose cone, and then we're going to grab the regular style tank, but we're going to upgrade it to the stringer tanks, the aluminum stringers, because that is the lightest weight material that we have access to. We grab the RD100 and grab the second configuration of it, which makes it burn for about 83 seconds, I believe. I've been enjoying the RD100 over the A4 and the A9, which is what we've typically used when we do the RP1. That's what the RP1 wiki uses in its walkthrough, so that's kind of what we were familiar with. But in this series we branched out to the RD100, and I've been very happy with its performance and the fact that it has so many upgrades. We're currently on our second upgrade for the RD100, but we still have many more to go. And with the A4, you only have the A4 and the A9, and that is all you get. So already it would be obsolete. So I'm very happy with that. We use another tank here, hollowed out through the center, to just kind of aerodynamically shape it and protect our engine bell. And it doesn't have a lot of space, but it still holds fuel, so every little bit helps. I go ahead and grab some wings, but for some reason it had some wings already saved as default, and I'm not really sure where those came from, but nonetheless we're going to use them. So we grab the supersonic ones just in case we go so fast that they rip off. We're not going to be tilting them. We don't need to spin stabilize this or anything. We have no other stage except for the lifter and the payload. So we're going to put parachutes on here. For some reason I wasn't getting the typical option boxes, so I instead of in the action group section where I'm used to, I just change its parameters in the VAB window. Alright, so let's go ahead and get our staging correct. And this is just about ready. We're going to just name it the Cam Rocket 1 for now. We'll get a better name in a little bit. I don't know about a better name, but it'll get a different name in a little bit. We set our avionics to control the weight of the rocket, and we do a simulation. And that simulation was excellent. So all we have left to do is to paint the thing, and then we can get it pushed out for production. So we're going to go with this Delta Blue color, kind of like it. I don't want to follow the Goldwing series like we did in the last one. I do like the color scheme. We may return to it again for some pieces, but I don't want to make every early game rocket look the same. So we're gonna switch it up and do a little Delta Blue, and then I put the text on there. And I've been playing a fair bit of Grounded lately, so some of that was kind of on my mind, and because of the fact that it's a camera, I thought about naming it the Peeper, and I thought that was kind of a fun name. Cute color, cute name, cute font. So we are going to be launching a couple of these today, 5 of them actually. We want to gain as much science as we can, and this rocket is fairly reliable. The engine has quite a bit of data on it already. And once they're tooled up, they're fairly cheap to make. So let's go ahead and modify our launch pad. And we're going to skip ahead until that's all done. Let's go ahead and get our Peeper loaded up once more, and then we will tool it and get it ready for production. Pretty cheap to tool. And then once we tool them down, it's only 1,400 funds to launch each one. So it's pretty good. We're going to make sure our science is good. So let's go ahead and throw a couple of those into the queue. Unlock our parts. And so that's 2. And let's make it 3. Why not? Alright, let's go back to the KSC. And we are going to warp our way forward. And we're going to do some launches. The rest of this episode is just going to focus on the launches and the science that we accumulate and what we use to spend it. So let's go ahead and get the max amount of engineers that we can get on our launch pad, which is 95. And we're going to hire all of them, put them all to work there, which speeds up our process a lot. And we had 111 researchers, but we're going to hire a bunch more, which was kind of a bad idea because we don't have any science for them to work on currently, not until until this rocket comes back. However, by assigning them early, it assures that we won't forget to assign them at all. So that's good. So let's get ourselves ready for launch. I forgot to do some cinematic shots in the beginning, like I normally do. Like I mentioned before, I was just a little rusty at this. So I'm just going to fly these first couple flights with all the data on screen and go from there. But we have a downrange contract of only 200 kilometers, and this should more than handle that. We're going to use Smart ASS to control our flight. So we can tell that RSS is working because our clouds have texture and volume to them, hence the term volumetric clouds. So pretty easy liftoff. I like the fact that the RD100 has a very low spool up time, so it doesn't take super long for it to warm up and go, which is nice. Every little second counts. So we pass through the first cloud layer. Say goodbye to the KSC below us. It always makes me smile that it's also called the KSC in RP1, Kennedy Space Center. And here we are, passing this second cloud layer. It's just a small little puff. Peep.r 1 looking good, flying pretty straight. Our apoapsis is already at 80 kilometers and rising, so we're going to go ahead and straighten out. We're not trying to get height on here. We don't really need to get to space, so we can simply point at the horizon now and just get some distance. We only need to go 200 kilometers, and this can easily handle that, so really we could have just shut off the engine probably. I'm just going to say probably on that. Don't know, but the contract isn't all that hard. What is hard, however, is the re-entry. We have to make sure that this film canister, I don't know why I keep calling it a film canister, this camera can survive the brutal heating of re-entry. So we're going to just kind of follow it and let it drift on down. We're going to be keeping these launches mostly unedited because honestly it was just it was a lot of fun seeing the plan this way. We're going to be launching a couple different directions today, so it's fun. Alright, so as you see there, we have all the check marks except for the downrange distance, but we're about to handle that right now. And then the only thing left to do now is to return home safely. So hopefully what I planned in for the parachute there will be sufficient to capture it and let it land safely. So off in the distance we see Jupiter, that little bright light down there. And then of course we turn away and face it. Kind of wish I had lingered a little more on that. That was kind of cool, the fact that we could spot it off in the distance. But here we are, just time warping until we get back to the edge of the atmosphere, because we were in space for a little bit. And we're just going to follow it down. So fingers crossed when the heating starts to build up that we don't explode. Because we have 2 other rockets in the queue, so it'd be a waste if we had to redesign them all. And thankfully we didn't come in at too steep of an angle, so our heating effects dissipated relatively quickly, leaving our camera safe and sound. I'm pretty happy with this color choice that I chose. It looks really nice in comparison to all the other colors we see, because it's similar to the ocean but slightly different, which makes it stand out. Similar to the night sky, but once again. So we're time warping at 4 times speed as we come down to save a little time, but then we have to kill our time warp as we deployed our parachutes, and then we time warp once again. And once we see our second parachute deploy and then both of them open, we know that we are going to be coming down safely. It actually took quite a long time to get down to the ocean surface, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip forward a little bit, and you can see our successful splashdown. So there we go. Not too bad, not too far away. I mean, the Coast Guard's going to have to go out a little bit farther than expected, but we got the science back. We now have 7.2, which is enough to unlock something else. I am very excited about the solid rocket engines. I want to get back into that. I need high-speed flight in order to progress our X-Plane program, and basic rocketry is going to push our rockets further. But we don't even have early science here. Like, there is a lot that we need to do to progress our tech tree. Like, I feel like I picked up the half-done work of my previous self. So let's go ahead and just put that into SRBs, because I know we can make use of that. We'll get the Baby Sergeant cluster 11 times out. Baby Sergeant 11 times cluster, and that is a very handy one. So we're going to grab that. We still need to make more science. We still have more rockets in the queue. So we're going to go ahead to launch number 2 of the Peep.r. This time, we're going to put in a heading of 315. And that will take us north-ish, northwest-ish, which will hopefully keep our trajectory over the mainland the entire way. And we'll be collecting photographic evidence, photographic science of the country. Yeah, this isn't a spy satellite. This is purely artistic. So once again, we hit the smart ASS. We're pitching over ever so slightly, but still relatively quickly. As you see there on the right, I'm pressing the minus sign on the pitch, and that is lowering it. To change the direction that we went was the heading, which is that number directly above the number that I'm changing. And the lower number roll just rolls your craft along its axis. So that is just a kind of a brief little look at the smart ASS. Okay, so once we hit the 100-kilometer apoapsis, we drop our trajectory to point directly at the horizon, so we can kind of get some more horizontal distance and not go as high up. Because getting into space is fine. We'll get a little bit of science from that, but it detracts from the real science we want to get, and that's the atmospheric science. So we go ahead and separate early. It probably would be better if I had separated later, almost get hit by the piece. But, because I think separating later keeps your momentum, and so it keeps the distance. But currently, since this is a second launch, we don't have a contract to complete. So we don't need to increase any distance or anything. We can just let the payload fly. So we got an apoapsis of 105 kilometers, which is not even going to touch space. And so we're just going to go up the northern coast and see how far we can go. I want to thank you all. Thank everybody for commenting and voting on the poll. I definitely agree. It was well worth the wait. And once again, thank you to the commenter who let me know that I just needed to try a little bit harder and just take another look at it and really pay attention. That's the thing about RSS Reborn is you really need to follow the instructions to the letter, because then and only then can you really get success. And if you skip a step, if you paraphrase, it might not work out. But yeah, it was worth waiting for. It was worth trying for instead of settling. So once again, we're just gonna kind of watch it float down. I think it's kind of interesting that it always seems to favor its side as opposed to pointing its nose cone down. So I'm trying to smash the spacebar to get the parachute to deploy, but it wasn't deploying because it was still above the safe altitude to deploy. So the real parachute is a little smarter than I sometimes, and it knows what it's doing. There we are. Once again, coming down safely at a low enough speed. This is going to be another successful mission. Well, not mission, but launch. Another successful launch. Another successful roll of film to develop. This time of Upper Florida. I don't know that we got very far. I don't know that we got into any other states, but I'm excited to see. there is a project that someone's working on to further develop the realism of this. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so in this launch, when we came through the lower cloud layer, it happened to be raining. I wasn't fully aware that there was weather in RSS Reborn, and I wasn't actually sure if there was or not. So this was a nice surprise to see, just a confirmation, because I was thinking about asking around, but because I didn't see anything when I searched Google, but that's because it's a relatively new mod, so unless that question was asked before, I wouldn't imagine that it is. It's a little weird that I can't see my shadow. Oh, that's just because it was far enough away. Yeah, so another successful touchdown on the surface of Earth. Beautiful. So, hopefully the film doesn't get wet and the person searching for it doesn't get too wet either. So once again, headed back to the KSC. We have more science to spend, 4.9 points, and basic rocketry is 4 points exactly. And we're going to want those because the better engines configs for the RD100 will be very useful. But until then, we have the third Peeper to launch, so let's go ahead and launch this. We're going to be going up the over the landmass of Florida once again. So we've got our heading plotted into 315, and we're going to just slowly start pitching over. And kind of follow the same launch profile as the last one. We're not being very efficient with our time. Time is a resource in RP1. We're currently in the 1956 or 1957, somewhere around there. Which, honestly, we should be a little bit farther off. But, once again, it's been a little bit since I played this, so I kind of just wanted to take my time on this, want to focus on something specific. And this particular set of missions was just nice to kind of work through instead of having to solve multiple different types of problems all at once. Like I mentioned before when we dealt with the plane mission, is I did actually at one point try to integrate planes into this episode, but our current technology just wasn't capable of solving the mission, so I decided to put that off. We'll get to that next time, and we'll just focus on the Peepers this time around. So after burnout, we flip around backwards, unintentionally of course, and jettison our lower stage in favor for just a simple flip through of the camera. So it does look like the ocean that we're above, but we are indeed above land. We'll be getting to that shortly. And you can kind of see it coming into view in the bottom of the screen. There's not too much science to be had going suborbital like this, atmospheric. I'd be better off attaching this camera to a plane and flying that around, but we don't have a cockpit that can go above 40 kilometers, so we're gonna have to wait on that, and by the time we do get that cockpit, we might not need the small amount of science we can get from the atmosphere, but we'll see how it goes. I am looking forward to making some progress on this. I'm looking forward to picking this back up. I do have a lot of fun with this, and so I'm excited to keep moving forward, making more progress. I am sad that we had to cancel our last RP1 series. We were going orbital at that point. We were working on light satellites, but with the new system, being gotten with the changeover with RSS Reborn being added, it just made more sense to start anew and try again. So hopefully we can make some quick progress and get back to where we were, and then go a little bit further. I have the highest quality moon textures you can have, so I am looking forward very much to seeing those in person. So we skipped ahead a little bit because once again it was a very, very slow descent back to the surface. But we land safe and sound. So once again we have 4.9 science, but we're going to hold off on that, and we're going to go ahead and load up the next Peep.r rocket. But we are going to make one little change to that, and that is to put one little creature on top. So we're going to go ahead and move that and put a small biological capsule, it's either a fruit fly or other insect or a small rodent of sorts, but a tiny little animal. We're going to send them hurtling very fast, and then when they get back, we're going to interview them. They're going to tell us all about it. So on this cloudy morning, we go ahead and get ready for liftoff. Once again, flight path just like before. Everything pretty standard. Going over the states, once again, going slightly northwest. You want to go slightly west of north. If you go completely north, you'll spend most of your time over the water due to the curve in Florida. So you want to add just a little bit of west to that. But our cloudy, gloomy day quickly turns to bright and beautiful sunshine as we pass through that thick cloud layer. Go ahead and bring up our windows so we can keep an eye on our science gains and continue our turn. This engine has a lot of power behind it, so that's the reason why we're having to do such an aggressive gravity turn. Like, this is really fast to be pushing over, but that's because we don't want our apoapsis to get so high. I've mentioned before, we're not trying to get to space, and this thing just wants to get to space. So I'm excited to see what kind of engine upgrade the next one will bring for us, because I believe it adds quite a much longer burn time. And then once we start using that to do light orbital satellites, I think it'll be very useful. So I'm excited with this new path that I've taken. In RP1, depending on what you unlock, depending on what programs you're working on, depending on where you spend your money, can give very different gameplays. Just everything works out differently. My gameplay, where I focused heavily on the solid rockets, changed around my designs completely. And the gameplays where I did the X-plane after the light not the light satellites, but after the sounding rocket ages, was a much different program than this time around, where I did it simultaneously. You know, simply having lighter weight materials for the body, for the fuselage, for the fuel tanks, made a huge difference, and that was only made possible because the points that I spent elsewhere, the money, the launches, all of that. So it's a very fun game, and making small changes, even as much as like, oh, I'm going to choose to unlock SRBs this time and have more SRB power. It makes a huge difference. So well, just a better example, what I'm actually trying to talk about is the RD100. That changing that engine, going from the A4 and A9 to that, is night and day. Very fun. But anyways, I talked through the reheating once again, but we come to expect that as long as our trajectory is fine. We shouldn't suffer any casualties to it. In testing, I found that going too high, adding too much apoapsis to our trajectory, made the re-entry much steeper, and in doing so, we would explode. So that's why I took such care to turn when I did. So once more, well, the time before the last time, we are going to skip ahead and drop our craft down on solid ground. And there we go. One more piece that the poor soul who has to go searching through the flatlands to go find. Alright, so we have one more launch to do. And we're going to do that early in the morning. Right at dawn. This one, however, we are going to be once again heading east over the water. We haven't done any over the water with the biological experiment, and it's been a bit since we've done it with the film canister and the camera, and I'm sure there is leftover science to be gotten from that. So let's go ahead and follow our same flight profile and just aggressively head over. I like launching at dawn because when you're on the launch pad, it's very dark, very early, but then once you start gaining some altitude, you make the sunrise come to you. It's very pleasing. It's like a reverse Little Prince. Alright, so our apoapsis is now rapidly approaching 100 kilometers, so we're going to start pitching down until we hit about 38, and then we're just going to drop it straight to 0, pitch it up to 2, and then hold it there for the last 13 seconds of our burn time. Our science is running. We still have plenty of science to be gotten, so that's nice. And we reach engine shutoff. We go ahead and jettison that. And once more, it's time to free float. This time with the sun in our eyes. Silhouette looking like the head of a bullet, or maybe the entire bullet. I love the shadows casted from the clouds on top of, well, themselves. The volumetric aspect to those clouds, catching the sunlight and distributing the shadows where they should go. Excellent work. And it seems like we're actually going to be heading for one of those storms, so we might see another rain cloud. That big one would be fun to land in. But we're going to sail right on past it. And as quickly as it comes, the heating effect dissipates, leaving us safe to fall once more through the clouds. Now it looks like a bullet. So peaceful. Can't wait till we're headed to other planets and see what kind of peace we can find there. Or maybe it'll be stressful, coming in through Venus's fiery atmosphere. We'll see. I definitely have a soft goal of I want to land on the moon. You know, that's definitely going to be the goal for our channel going forward. But anyways, we got a whole mess of science from that. We got 17.2 collected. That biological capsule does wonders for us. So we're going to go ahead straight into research and development. And there's quite a lot of things I want to unlock, but I think I'm going to need to unlock the satellite era material science first, because that's going to be the only way that we can unlock the X-plane program requirements of high-speed flight. We're not going to be able to complete our contract until we unlock that. So we're kind of stuck there. I really also want to get atmospheric reentry to get heat shields, because then we can get a lot more out of our biological capsule. And of course, engines, but we'll have to figure out all that in the next episode. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're looking forward for more RP1, because I definitely am. If you did, please consider giving me a like, drop me a comment, let me know your thoughts, and I will see y'all in the next one. Take care.